Join us.
They used to call me Crazy Joe, but now they can call me Batman.
What up? Welcome back to the Necro Zoo. I am Bones. And in this one, let's go ahead and add one more figure to my McFarlane DC Multiverse collection. Now this time we are going to take a look at Deathstroke Defiance. Now, of course, these are being found at Target in the little red display, just at random Targets, because I have gone to various Targets and I just have not come across this actual figure. I did come across the Wonder Woman, the Black Adam with Throne, and the Kyle Rayner, but this one just seemed to avoid me. Now, luckily, being out here in the figure community, I do have some friends to help me out, so big shout out to my boy Vaughton. He actually sent me this knowing that I had not found him yet, so now we'll go ahead and take a look at him. Now, this character is from a storyline where Deathstroke has kind of made like a anti-hero turn a little bit. He does work with a version of the Titans, but now they are known as the Dark Titans. Not too familiar with it, but one thing I will tell you is that to me, this is the figure that I wanted most, although a lot of people that I've been seeing the reviews are saying that this figure is nothing special, but for me, this is the one that I really wanted to get my hands on. Now, he does look pretty devious in the packaging, but let's go ahead and take a closer look at him. But first, he does come with your standard black DC Multiverse stand. Now, this is not necessarily needed, but sometimes they do come in useful. He also comes with his data file card. On the front, you do have some source material from the comics that represent this costume. And on the back, you do have some information. Basically the same little bio that was on the original Deathstroke card, but we will add this to the collection. He does come with a little knife that goes in the sheath on his boot. This is just the same thing that came with the original Deathstroke release. And then he does come with a bow staff. Now, people say that this one's kind of flimsy. It is a little bit soft, but it's way better than the one that comes with the Red Robin. This one actually has sculpted detail, different grips, and a lot of little added sculpt to it. So I like it. It looks pretty good. Now let's go ahead and take a closer look at him. First impressions, as I said before, really interested to take a closer look at this guy because up till now I had seen just images of it, so wasn't really sure what it looked like in hand. But it does look really nice, and it is a big departure from the original release. Some cool added features, different paint scheme, and all in all, a very unique looking figure. Really love that. Now, I had watched some reviews and a lot of people were just saying that it's black and white. It's black and white, so that it's not like a big color difference. But now that I have them in hand, there is actually a lot of differences to the original release. I will point those out, but just off the bat, the main first thing is that this isn't really just black and white, because all of the side that has the dark color actually has like a grayish metallic wash on it, so that kind of gives it a little bit of depth and is a lot different than just calling it black and white. This one actually has a cool gunmetal wash all over where it's supposed to be dark, so I actually like that, and I wouldn't have noticed that without having him in hand, so that is pretty awesome. Let's take a look at the head sculpt. It is the exact same head sculpt as the original release. You still have that little detailed lining on the mask, but one thing I will say is that that added brushing of silver on the dark side actually makes it stand out a lot more and gives it a little bit more life than if it was just to be all black. Pretty sweet. Taking a look at the chest. Now this is something different because this upper torso is different than the original release as well. That one had more of like piping lines and a simple design. And this one actually has chainmail on both sides. And then, you know, cloth wrinkles right at the chest with that added Defiance symbol on the left side. So it actually looks really cool, and it's a lot more different than just saying it's a simple repaint of the original Deathstroke. Let's take a look at the articulation. He does have side to side, full range at the waist, lower waist swivel, upper chest swivel. You could twist him, get him in some cool poses. He does have a slight crunch forward. Could get him pretty down, and then you could lean him back for some cool poses. All in all, that's good right there. Let's take a look at the shoulders. He does have a butterfly joint underneath that shoulder guard. You got up and down, front to back, bicep swivel, double jointed elbows. Look good. Straighten them out. Like I said, this one does have the added shoulder pauldrons moving down into that chainmail and then transitioning back to smooth forearms and into the gloves. But he still has that detailed work in the forearms. Now he does have that wrist articulation from McFarlane where you can hinge and then swivel and then bend again. And surprisingly, this guy on both sides, he actually has the chainmail on the arms, whereas the original release only had it on one side. He actually has it on both. And that is very reminiscent of the classic Deathstroke, like Terminator Deathstroke. So I really like that because they might be able to reuse this in the future. Same thing on the right side. Pretty cool. Now he does have two different hands. One is like a gripping hand, and then his left hand is a trigger finger. But you could cut that and modify it just to make them both trigger finger hands. So that's all good. Can you get him in a T-pose? Kind of rough because aside from the added shoulder pads, you also have the cape, which is like restricting it even more. But if you slide the pauldrons in there, you can get them in a cool T-pose. Let's go down to the thigh swivel. Now, he does have actually good range at the thigh, where you could twist his thigh and get more range throughout the leg. He can kick up really high. Can also kick back really high, and that is allowed by the rubber in the trunks. Then you put it back and they go back to their original form. Pop out the leg, bend the knee, and he does have that sweet hip swivel. Double jointed knees. Look pretty good. Straighten them out. You got up and down at the ankle, right to left, rocker, and toe articulation. Before we go, let's take a look at the lower legs. It is basically the same sculpt as the original release. No changes at all. You even have the straps where the holster is supposed to go. But one thing they did skimp out on is they added this like metallic silver paint, and it's to represent how he kind of has like that kind of cyborg, reminiscent of colossal, metallic work on the legs. And this guy does not have it. But if you were to not know that about the original source material, this guy looks really good with that added little silver detail. It makes him pop. So I do like that. Of course, he does have the sheath on his calf where you can actually stick the knife in there. It is a working little holster. And of course, at the belt, it's the same belt from the other Deathstroke, just painted white. No wash or anything, so it is pretty basic. Take a look at him from the bottom. A slight tread and some identifying marks. Moving up the back, same scope work, detailed, nice paint application. Going into that chainmail you could see on the back. Now let's talk about this cape. It is a really unique cape to this figure. Has a lot of like dynamic movement in it and a lot of wrinkles, so looks pretty good. He does have his hood there. It's draped down over his back, but of course not movable. And then you get into the back of the mask. Now this is pretty cool because on the original release it does not come with the different colored little tassels, and this one actually does have a white and a black, and that's a good time to bring in the original release. And I actually painted mine to give them that, you know, difference of the two different tassels, because it actually came with two black ones and I painted mine orange to match. But it's pretty cool to see that on this one they did add that little detail. Pretty nice figure. Now you can add tons of weapons. If you have the weapons pack, you could add all kinds of guns. Like this gun could go in his hand. Posable, pretty nice. I won't be adding a holster to this one like I did to the original. It just seems like it doesn't need it. If you have any extra swords, like I have this extra sword that came with the Damian Wayne Robin, but what I didn't like is the gold looked too shiny. Like it just was too gaudy looking. So I actually gave it a black wash to like tone down a little bit of the gold, and it actually looks really good, and you could get it in his hand. And he actually looks awesome with that sword. This is basically, I think I am going to keep it with him, even though his main weapon will probably be that bow staff. But all in all, really happy with this figure. Did not disappoint. I am going to be really excited to add him to my shelf. Probably just basically pose him with his bow staff. He's going to look really good up there. And this is your quintessential shelf candy from McFarlane, which is something he does really good, is add figures that just look really good on the shelf, with the added benefit that this one actually has a lot of cool articulation. Now, the original release, let's get them next to each other, see how it looks. This guy also had his sword, but there's the differences in the color scheme. And as I said before, this is probably a precursor to that we're probably going to get a more 80s, early 90s traditional comic Deathstroke. And hopefully he comes with everything, with the sword, with the little knife, and with his staff. And hopefully by then we could actually have him with some guns. You never know, but loving this figure. Really happy to have him in the collection. It looks to me like this is one of those figures that I just won't be able to put down, and I'll be taking some pictures and having some fun with him. But anyways, you guys keep hunting out there, keep collecting, keep customizing, and I will see you on the next one.